What's going on? Sunny here, and in this video I want to talk about the reality transurfing concept of going with the flow to actually manifest your desires much faster, to achieve your goals much faster, to create the life that you want in an effortless and way less work type of way, like less efforting, less struggle, less grinding to achieve a certain result, but rather a smooth flowing of events to end up at your desired result. Does that sound cool? That's what we're going to be discussing and what it actually means to go with the flow. Because I'm sure you've heard this concept everywhere, right? In other spiritual teachings as well. Flow is a big concept, but it can often be confusing because I know it took me so long to really figure out the sense of a flow, how to actually go with the flow enough that you are in control, but not that you are really getting in your own way and creating your own obstacles, because that's the way most people live. So let's first actually define flow, right? What is the flow of life? The flow of life is, simply put, what happens in this moment and the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. It will all still be happening in the now, right? Your now just continues to manifest different alternate realities into the now, into the now, into the now, but it creates this seemingly linear timeline, this sort of flow, this sort of journey that your mind perceives of it as. So realize that the flow of life, what is it made of? Life manifesting into the now, every now moment, now and then the next now and the next now. It is made up of life itself. And because it is perfectly in tune with life, with nature, the flow always operates at the path of least resistance, which is the path of the energy least exerted. The flow, if you follow it, will continue to keep you on the path of least resistance towards whatever you are trying to expand to, whatever you're trying to manifest. That's very crucial to understand, because if that's the case, then that also means that all the problems in your life right now, they're all self-created by your mind. Take that in real quick. Take responsibility for your problems. You created them. So because life goes along the path of least resistance naturally, because that's just the nature of life, that's the essence. Nature never wastes energy, so neither does the flow, okay? Life has no interest to try to cause you problems, to create friction in your life situation, whatever it is. So all your problems are actually self-created by your own mind. And the reason these problems come up, two reasons, or actually one, but there are two aspects of it. Importance, inner and outer importance. So I have a quote right here from Reality Transurfing that I'll read real quick that explains what inner and outer importance actually influence you to do. Okay, so outer importance encourages the mind to look for complicated solutions to simple problems. And inner importance convinces the mind that its reasoning is sound and capable of making the only right decision. Both of these make you try to control the flow of your life, and actually you just end up getting in your own way. You end up creating your own obstacles. You try to control the situation, but actually end up doing yourself more harm than if you would have just observed and actually went with the flow and did the minimum possible action that was required of you. So what happens with outer importance is that an event happens in your life, okay? And you look at this event and you define it to be bad, to be a negative event. And because you define it to be like that, you consider it to be a big problem, a big obstacle. And as you know, big problems and obstacles can only be overcome with big, massive solutions and a lot of energy and effort. So you define the problem to be big, this event in life, which is actually purely neutral. No event in life comes to you with a feeling attached to it. The feeling is your choice. You might be making this choice unconsciously, but the feeling is your choice. Why? Because the feeling comes from the definition that you give to the event. So let's just say right now, you went to your bank and there's no money in there, right? Just crazy example. There's no money in your bank left. That event itself is not a negative event. That is, the negative event is just the label that you give it, the definition that you give it, the judgment that you put onto that configuration of reality, which is actually just neutral. It's just a configuration of molecules that is vibrating at a certain pace. And you are defining, you as the free will that you are making a choice to define this event as a bad event. Maybe you're doing it consciously, maybe you're doing it completely unconsciously. Because everybody you know who has faced the situation in the past has told you it's a bad situation. So it's pure conditioning. So realize, because you judge it to be a bad event, the resulting feeling that comes from it is negative. So it's very important to understand that no event in life, on the flow of life, comes from the event itself. No event comes with a feeling. No event in life comes with a feeling attached to it. The feeling is your choice. The event may or may not have been your choice, but you still manifested it. So when something comes along your path and you define it to be a problem, now the way this unfolds in the next now and in the next now and in the next now will be problematic, because that's the way you defined it. That's all you. And not only that, but you're actually going to continue to manifest realities which you continue to define as bad, as negative, and then you derive negative feelings from it. So you see, already there, you're creating so much friction for yourself just by defining and judging one potential alternative reality that you are experiencing right now to be bad. And because you have so much resistance towards it, you're like, no, this is not the way things should be. You actually, just that resistance keeps you attached to it. And now what you keep manifesting in every next now and next now and next now is just more realities with a similar nature. Where things are kind of different, but the nature, the quality of the reality is that kind of negative meaning that you're giving to this current one. So that's one, outer importance, where you define it to be a big problem. Now this big problem requires a big solution. Where do you go for the solution? You consult your mind, you consult logic, you consult reasoning, which is another big mistake, because if you really look at life, there's nothing logical about life. That's the way that we have really made it seem, after all of these years of just conditioned mind, all these pendulums just imposing beliefs within your subconscious that, life, you have to be very logical, you have to be very structured, you have to be, ditching your own desires to serve humanity, things like that, right? All those beliefs. They're not true. And you have to wake up to that fact. Life is not logical. Life doesn't necessarily work in a logical way. But that's the way that you try to solve all your problems. You try to think of solutions. The mind cannot come up with anything creative. Anything that is actually creative, a creative solution, always comes from the space beyond mind. The space beyond mind, which is the alternative space, or the space of nothingness, the field of all potential realities. That's where the solutions come from. But you, because you don't even consider that a possibility, you think that it has to be logical, it has to be done by you, and you think that you are the one that has to control, and you are the one that can come up with the best solution. Now you go on thinking about a solution and stressing, and while dealing with all these emotions, all these negative emotions and pressures, now through that energy, you are trying to come up with a solution. Not only that, but your mind is actually hooked on the influence of so many different pendulums that are kind of just like puppeteering your mind and influencing it to think all sorts of ways. So you see how deeply rooted conflict is in this approach to life. So in order to actually go with the flow, you have to learn to wake up in the moments that something comes up, in every moment of life, really, and consciously drop these two importances. Whenever you experience anything, don't ever label it to be something that's a big deal. Label it as something that's very negative or a big obstacle for you. Because if you do so, then that is the way that it will be. Recognize your nature as the giver of the meaning to events, as the chooser of how this particular current event will unfold. That truly is your power. Just say your house gets robbed today. You have no idea how that situation will unfold. That could have been like the best thing, that could have been like the blessing that you were asking for because it was going to lead to something really good. But because you gave it such a negative meaning and you freaked out and you lost your mind, now how do you think that will unfold? Realize that no situation has any paved way that, oh, this is how these situations unfold. Every situation can unfold in an infinite variety of ways based on the meaning that you give it in that moment that actually happens, based on your state of being, how you feel right now. So knowing that, don't define anything to be bad. Don't define anything to be the worst thing ever that could happen, chaotic, all those things. Realize that just to be the conditioning, right? Like you've seen other people do that all their lives. Now you feel like you have to as well. Or you think that that's the right thing to do, but it's not. It's just how things have been dealt with in the past by further unconscious people. Are you more conscious? Well, if you want to become more intelligent and conscious, wake up. Wake up and realize that you decide in this moment what meaning you want to give to this event. That is your power. And then when you give it a positive meaning or even a neutral meaning, the resulting feeling that comes from it will not be negative. Do you see how that goes? So you've already just like relieved yourself of a huge burden of having to deal with a big problem, because it's not a big problem, because it's the meaning that you gave it. And now you completely changed the course of your life, of how this event will unfold. You realize how powerful you are? Well, step into your power. Second, you have to drop inner importance. You have to stop thinking that you are the only this little person that you think you are is the only one that can come up with a solution for this problem. You know who's more intelligent than you? The higher self, the awareness within which this little small self that you call you is happening. The higher self, or you could call it the universe, or you could call it God, you could call it love, you could call it joy, anything you want to call it. That self, infinity, it's much smarter than you. It knows much more than you. And when you simply allow the possibility of this event magically being solved on its own accord, and then you simply stay in a balanced state and follow the flow of life, which also operates at the path of least resistance, now the solution will automatically come up as long as you stay patient and balanced. The solution will present itself to you automatically, and it will come in a miraculous way. It doesn't need to be seemingly miraculous, but it will just happen. The previous approach, you were always like, I have to figure this out. I have to overcome this. The new approach is, I have nothing to guard or conquer. I have nothing to fear or worry about. I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to protect. I am the chooser. I am the person who decides how my life will unfold. And this event, I'm deciding that it will actually unfold in a positive way for me. And then you follow the flow, and then naturally, the flow of life will bring an alternate reality on which that event unfolds positively. One out of the infinite possibilities that you could have manifested, now you will manifest one that you actually find pleasant. Because in that moment, you woke up and gave it a positive meaning. And then second, you let go of your need to solve it yourself, to think that you are the only one that can come up with a solution to this. And you simply, you just went along with the flow, did whatever was required of you. I'm not saying take no action, but I'm saying don't try to control the situation. Ease your grip a little bit. Follow the flow. And now you allow the solution to flow into your life because you're now vibrating at a different frequency, a different reality on which the solution actually exists. The solution never exists on the same vibration and the same type of reality on which the problem was created. So in order to solve problems, you don't need reason and logic. You need awareness to step up to a higher level of consciousness, a better, higher perspective. that actually can simply solve the problem. And that's what happens. So going with the flow will make your life so effortless. It'll make your life more like a play, and it will allow you to actually just manifest things by attributing the process much less effort. Rather, you just stay in joyful anticipation of what's coming next and what's coming next and what's coming next. If there's a seemingly negative event or a setback, it doesn't trigger you. It doesn't throw you off or set you back, because you, as the conscious person, the conscious individual you are, you wake up and attribute that event a positive meaning, and you keep moving forward, and you keep staying balanced, and you keep choosing to feel good, to feel aligned, to constantly stay at the vibration which is more like in nature of the reality that you desire to manifest. You can never manifest a positive reality from a negative vibration. So realize that and wake up and change your state of being. All right, so that was my bit on going with the flow. I hope you found that helpful. If you want to further learn how to go with the flow and accelerate your reality, click the link in the description box below and watch my free masterclass. It's completely free on how to accelerate the time between desire and manifestation. All right, I'll see you in the masterclass. But also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also give me a like. All right, I'll see you in the next video.